So, veganism versus carnivore, if you want to be spiritual, right? This is a debate I will probably never end, and I'm using veganism and carnivore because they're sort of two extremes, right? You have like on one hand, you have the people saying, well, this carnivore makes you carnal, you kill animals, you don't have compassion, you become low vibrational. And on the other hand, you have like, no, you need nutrients, you need fuel, right? God says it's okay to eat animal. You have like this, it's almost, if you look at it, you have the two opposing sects of spirituality against one another, right? I'm gonna get to that. I wanna start firstly, why do we eat? What's the point of food? Is the point of food to make us spiritual? Is the point of food to just merely fuel the body? Is the point of food something in the middle, something in between, right? Why do we eat? For me personally, as someone who fasts, I can see how what we eat and how much we eat can impact our spirituality. So I'm not oblivious to that. I do fast, sometimes 2 days, 3 day fasts. I think they're amazing on your spiritual journey. I do intermittent fasting every day, so I don't eat for 16 hours every day. And the question is, well, what should we eat? What makes us more spiritual? And again, you can watch YouTube videos. You can watch YouTube videos of guys who say you have to be vegan or else you can't taste the ecstasy of spiritual enlightenment. And others say you have to just be carnivore, bro. And here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what you eat does not determine where you are spiritually. You eat for fuel of the body. Eating is a physical act. It gives you physical energy. The spiritual energy we receive from God, we don't receive that from the foods. So in my opinion, the main point of food is to make your body vigorous and strong, right? And this is the sort of argument that would lead people towards carnivore. Because you can say, and again, I know I'm gonna lose people here because I know lots of you are vegans. But again, do this for yourself. How do you feel when you're a vegan? How do you feel when you eat carnivore? I am an ex-vegan. I used to be a vegan and eat a vegan diet. Why? Because I thought it would make me more spiritual. It will increase my vibration, make me more high vibrational. I have compassion and empathy for the animals. And what ended up happening is that over months, I started to not feel so good. I started to overeat until my belly was literally bloated because I just wouldn't feel satiated. I would stay hungry and I wouldn't feel good. I would eat like a shit ton amount of, like insane amounts of food, literal gigantic bowls just full with rice and beans and whatever, trying to get my proteins in. And then I tried carnivore and I immediately felt like 100 times better. I realized now, okay, every time I eat rice or bread, my heart rate goes up afterwards. My blood sugar spikes and then I have a crash. And when I go carnivore and I cut out all of the carbs, all of a sudden I have much more energy. I'm much more calm. I'm much more balanced. I don't have brain fog. I feel clear-headed, I feel strong. I feel more masculine, my muscle growth speeds up. I just feel more naturally dominant and calm. Again, why is that? Pretty simple, because the building blocks of male hormones of testosterone is protein and cholesterol, right? But now here's what I want to get to, because it's a spiritual representation of where you're at spiritually. Because here's one thing, Jesus says you can eat meat. You are supposed to subordinate the animals and the earth. Of course, treat them with respect and compassion, but you are more worth than the creation itself. I made this for you. That's why you named them. Adam named the animals and everything. And I made this for you to strengthen you so you can eat of it, and you have more moral worth than an animal does or a tree does. This would be the biblical perspective. And so the biblical perspective says, because we have more worth, we need to care more about our own health and well-being, even if that comes at the cost of the lives of some animals. And again, here you can debate which diet actually saves more animals. But let's just say carnivore kills more animals. I'm okay with that, even though I'm not sure it actually does if you look at the grand picture. But let's say it does, for argument's sake. The biblical perspective is we have more moral worth. We are made in the image of God. We have a spark of divinity. And therefore, and because God has made this for us, we are allowed to have dominion over the earth and to eat of the animals and receive of the animals' flesh in thanksgiving and use it to invigorate our bodies. And then the other sect of spirituality, which is a lot of times the modern way of spirituality, which is very deep into taking a lot of drugs, or just the hippie movement is a good representation, right? You take a lot of psychedelics and you become very accepting and compassionate, and it's like, oh, just let them be gay, that's fine. And the Christian says like, no, that goes against God's order, that's not right, it's degeneracy. And they say just let them be, you know. Men can be women if they want to. They can be effeminate. They can have girly nails. They don't need to be strong, masculine role model. That's all gender. That's low vibrational. You're more than your body. You know, ascend. And the Christian comes and is like, well, no, but it's God's natural order. He created you that way. Why would you go against the natural order? This is how society breaks down. You have like these two sects of spirituality, if you can notice it. And the sort of New Age spirituality is the sort of spirituality that pushes veganism, that tells you that you are more compassionate, you are more moral, and you're more high vibrational if you eat a vegan diet. And I want to be real with you, though. I want to be real with you. Jesus Christ is the truth. And modern spirituality is of the devil. The hippie movement is of the devil. Transgenderism is of the devil. This gay degeneracy is of the devil. And anybody who has eyes can clearly see it. And here's what the vegans do not understand. You are not more compassionate. You are not more moral if you stoop down humans to the level of creation and animals. What you claim as, oh, I'm this compassionate, is actually a lack of compassion for the human beings. Because again, if we go away from Jesus, we get to the atheistic state. We reduce things to matter. We just see, well, you are a clump of cells. This is a clump of cells. Who are you to put yourself above this clump of cells? Because they want to spiritually blind themselves from the fact that, no, but you have more worth than an animal. Can't you see? It's not ego. It's you have God's spirit within you. You are conscious. You're awake. The animal isn't really. It's running on a program, but you're more than your program. You're more than an animal. So again, that's why I'm saying it is fake compassion. And when you go down to it, it is weakness instead of morality. Because you claim to be so compassionate, but you stoop down humans to the level of an animal. How compassionate is that really? And if you also look, this type of spirituality which pushes veganism, they're always in many different things. For example, number one, they're always a fan of transgenderism. These guys are all effeminate, overly accepting and loving, and don't really stand on anything, and they're really feminine, right? You can see when a society falls, before it falls, the men become feminine, and as a result of that, the women become masculine. That's why the masculine spirituality girl has a lot of tattoos. She has an ego face, and she's very out there. She dresses provocatively, and she indulges in a lot of sex, because we're all accepting and compassionate, and we shouldn't judge anybody. Again, you confuse weakness with morality. You confuse compassion with moral absolutes. What does a weak man do? He thinks a woman's compassion is a moral absolute. No, that's the devil who comes through the woman, as he did in the garden, and deceives her into accepting something which is evil but hidden under the disguise of compassion. Don't you want to have all the knowledge? Don't you want to see good and evil? I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth. And the woman is like, okay, yeah. Don't you want to accept the gayness and the transgenderism? Why do we have to hate? Just accept. Let's just be sexually liberated in the name of compassion. Failing to realize that moral truth is not your compassion, but it goes deeper than that. Because if you have sexual degeneracy, overtly sexual indulgence in a society, marriages will fail. Parents won't be with their children. The children will be indoctrinated by the government. And then the whole society breaks apart, right? And fundamentally, you will lose souls. So it's this type of pattern that once you're a man of God, you're able to see, you're able to differentiate what is weakness, what is morality. And you can see in this modern spirituality that they confuse the morality with weakness. But let's look deeper. What happens on a physical level? And also here I want to talk about, why does Bill Gates push this? Again, if you are truly a man of God, if you're a man of Jesus, Jesus has already shown you that your political system is corrupt. You will never vote yourself out of inflation or enslavement. The school system is here to indoctrinate you. The music industry is here to brainwash you. And so are all the shows you watch on TV. Everything is by the devil. If you go up the hierarchies, everything is ruled by the devil. If you're a man of God, Jesus will have shown you this. If you're in modern spirituality, you probably don't know this. But if you're a man of God, God will show you who is the enemy. Because the enemy is in our devices, the enemy is in our homes, the enemy is on the screens and on the billboards and in the ads. You know, take this pill to heal. Like, it's everywhere, right? So ask yourself, why does Bill Gates push veganism? If it makes you more spiritual, and being spiritual breaks you free from the chains of enslavement and indulgence, why would Bill Gates push it? Very simply because it emasculates the modern man on a physical, biological level. And the brainwashing goes very deep. How often have you heard, oh, this food is high in cholesterol, don't eat it, or oh, meat is bad. Why? Because they know that if they emasculate the man, not only on a mental level and on a spiritual level, by foregoing God and higher morality, but on a literal physical level, if they can castrate the men, they will have weak, effeminate men. And what is a feminine spirit? What is femininity? Submission, acceptance, agreeableness, right? Every single block, every single cell in your body, its building blocks are cholesterol. Mother milk that you give to a baby is full of cholesterol. And yet they say cholesterol is bad for you. The building blocks for your natural, God-given manly hormones are mainly protein and cholesterol, found heavily in animal foods. We followers of the true God, we know that man has been created for a reason. You have been made a man for a reason. And being a man comes with a certain responsibility and certain abilities. And it's not just, oh, we just must transcend and there is no gender and the natural order doesn't matter. No, you know, the man has his role. He's supposed to be the head of the woman, which means he has authority over the woman, but he's supposed to provide and protect for his woman so that his woman can be preserved and can stay in her feminine, pure essence and doesn't become masculine through trauma like the man does, right? We know these roles are there for a reason, because you need the two parents when you have children. That's how you have a functioning society. That's why you shouldn't have overt sexual indulgence, because that's what keeps a society going. But then the devil comes in and he says, like, you can be a woman if you want, you know, you're more than gender, you're not this body, you go beyond that, so paint your nails and don't worry about your natural hormones. And then you can see them, these modern spiritual men, they're very effeminate, they're very agreeable. And if you're not sure if a man is effeminate, because you can't see it on first view, look at their woman. If she dresses provocatively, if she's loud, if she's out there, you know he's a feminine man, because again, equals attract, right? That's why most women out there, if you're a man of God, you don't want them, because they're all fucking masculine. And if you're truly masculine and you want to provide for your woman and you don't want her to work, you look at a woman and you're like, why would you go to work? Why would you go to a 9 to 5? You should be at home. You should be with my children. Not because I'm a tyrannical, dominating male who just wants to dominate. No, but because I see you for what you really are. And I don't want to corrupt that, because that's beautiful what you are. And I want to give you and provide you with that space so you can be that feminine, Happy woman, because a woman is happy when she submits, but they cannot submit to weak men. That's another video in of itself though. But this type of sect of spirituality that pushes this veganism is always the type of spirituality which is inspired by the serpent, which is again evil hidden under the disguise of compassion. If it's transgenderism, if it's feminism, LGBTQ, or the gay stuff in general, or the hippie movement or whatever, they all become overtly feminized, agreeable, and compassionate to the point where they agree or exude compassion. There's nothing wrong with compassion, but accept things that are not morally true because they think the woman's compassion or their own compassion is a moral absolute. That's the issue. That's the issue. And because they lack God, they lack an inner strength and true masculinity, they fear. This is how you know. If you care about someone, if you care about your friend, you will tell him the hard truth. Man, you're deceived. I want to see you win, but I first have to show you your ignorance and your mistake so that you can grow, because I genuinely want to see you win. But I know if you want to win, you have to first see where you're going wrong. You have to first realize you have an addiction before you can fix it. You have to first realize you're poor before you can start working for money or whatever it is. Whereas they will, no, I don't want to cause any confrontation. I will just accept it and be quiet, and you do you, I do me. We're all loving and compassionate here, right? Effeminate doctrines of the devil. And these sects of spirituality push veganism because they have forgotten about the natural order. They have forgotten about God's design and creation, and that you as a man bears certain responsibility and you have certain abilities, and the woman bears a different type of responsibility and has different types of abilities. The Satan loves to go against the natural order. This is why when you come to Christ, you will be freed from the chains of veganism. You will realize, and you won't have to feel bad for the fact that you can receive the flesh of an animal in thanksgiving and feel invigorated, have healthy hormones, be healthy, and have the nutrients inside of you without having to feel bad because you're overly compassionate and use your compassion as a moral absolute. That's the issue. You will be freed of that. And I know my channel is for people such as these, because I come from that point myself. You're in modern spirituality, you take psychedelics, you accept the LGBTQ and the transgenderism, and you even think there's a spiritual component to it because we're transcending the boundaries of our biological, physical bodies, and we ascend and we're more. But think about it. If you are more than a man, and if you're so spiritual, then why would you want to be a woman? Why would you want to paint your name? What's exactly the point of that? It's nothing else but feminized men. They're completely in their feminine energy. They're always down to argue. I mean, I had it the other day. A guy was telling me, my psychedelics video, how, mushrooms are good and they helped him with trauma and this and that. And on his trip, he felt this feminine presence that calmed him down. And I looked at his channel. I didn't even click a video. I just saw the titles. And I already knew. I know the sect of spirituality. And I checked again after I made my comment, and I saw, he does actually paint his nails and wears like a choker as a full-grown man. And I just told him, listen, buddy, I'm not going to sugarcoat. I think you're in the deep deception. You're following brainwashed, feminized doctrines of the devil that play on your compassion because you're too weak to realize truth is not just your compassion, and you have to stand up for truth. And standing up for truth isn't always easy and accepting. And he got like super emotional, And I just saw, I could see, like, I see a feminine spirit in the way you text with me. Again, because they're castrated on every level. What is a modern spiritual man in modern spirituality? He's vegan and he hangs around with masculine women full of tattoos and spiritual ego with fake compassion, and he's overtly indulging sexually. So he is energetically castrated, for those of you who know semen retention, and he's biologically castrated, and he's castrated in his thinking. He is castrated on all levels. Why? Because as a man, you are supposed to represent God. You have been made in the image of God, so does the woman, but you're the head of the woman. Why? Because you as a man, you are supposed to represent the Father on this planet. You are supposed to walk as the Father would walk. or as the Son would walk, because he sent his Son. You are supposed to represent God. That is your duty as a man. And so if they can strip you of your power by deceiving the woman first in the name of compassion, and then using the woman to deceive the man, the same pattern as they did in the garden, they can strip you of your God-given power. They can emasculate you, and then you will accept the tyranny. Then you will accept the new world order. Then you will be vegan and overly compassionate. And God, I hate this type of spirituality, because it is a deep, deep deception. That's why they're pushing it. That's why it's being pushed. Don't you see? We're in the end times. That's why it's being pushed. And so many people are deceived, thinking they need to take drugs to be spiritual, and they don't even understand what spirituality really means. You are spiritual if you have the Spirit of God, if you do what's morally right, not if you're overly compassionate, not if you have tattoos or you take drugs or you chase enlightened states sitting there, and that doesn't do anything for anybody. Like, once your eyes really get opened and you come to Jesus, you realize that even this Sadhguru guy or Osho, they're completely lost. Look at Osho, for those of you who know Osho. I remember watching this guy and thinking he's like super enlightened, because he sits there and speaks like this. Actually, his eyes are almost like he's high. Because religion is brainwashed. And you look at him and you think, wow, he's so enlightened. Wow, what a master. But now that my eyes are open, it's like, are you so enlightened you can't speak normally again? Or it's like, I just see spiritual ego and selfish desires in so much of this modern spirituality, where it's like, let's chase these enlightened states instead of, I don't know, let's clean our room, let's work out, let's build something, let's help people. You know what? It's like there's like a disconnect, because they don't have the Spirit of God. They don't realize what true spirituality is. True spirituality is a grandma in the mountains working her ass off to provide a better life for her children, and urging them, just please read your Bible, please read your Bible. Always being there for them, always working her ass off. Fake spirituality is some type of guru sitting in a cave somewhere doing this. Like, if that's you, that's cool. But you're not spiritual. You're deceived, man. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. You're deceived. And I know I'm going to lose a lot of people, because I make videos that go between Christ and New Age spirituality. So I will get some people from New Age spirituality, and there are a lot of things which intertwine between the two, because what does the serpent do? He says true things. So there will be truth in what he says, but it's still going to be a deception, right? It's true. You can use semen retention and do black magic, and you will get a lot of women. It's not wrong, but is it the truth, right? This is why I will lose people here. But this is why it's important for me to, the two things. Number one, realize how the foods make you feel. And secondly, realize who is pushing the foods. The veganism, who is pushing that? Which type of spirituality is pushing the veganism? Because once you see the patterns, you can see. You don't need to study everything in depth. Once you see the two types of spirituality that exist nowadays, you can see, okay, one is an effeminate degeneracy lie, wicked of the devil, or is an effeminate, wicked, degenerate lie of the devil, and the other one is the truth in Jesus, the truth that you as a man should not be emasculated. You should not be physically, mentally, and energetically castrated and overly compassionate and accepting of everything. No, you should stand up for truth. You should stand up for truth, even if the whole society goes against you, even if they want to ban the meat, even if they want to take away all your freedom and all your rights, and you're supposed to stand up. You will be like a lion around hyenas. Christ is the truth, and if Christ says we are supposed, or we can eat animals and receive their meat in thanksgiving, then that is right, and you do not have to feel bad for that. And here's another thing, you will have more power. You will have more power. See, people say, this is again, effeminate. If semen retention becomes your goal, if your goal is not God, anything else will become If your goal is not God, anything else but God will become your goal. So you can be a New Age and you can know about semen retention, but what's going to be your goal? Semen retention. You can be a modern day man. What's going to be your goal? Women. Only when you truly have God is God your goal. You shall have no other gods besides me. What does that mean? when you're an effeminate, new age spiritual guy, and again, this, I'm not saying this in hate, I've been there, I've been that guy, overly compassionate and effeminate, and I have videos on my hard drive where I look at it like, yeah, whatever. I'm not saying this in hate or anything, because there's a transitioning phase. I'm ex-Muslim, now I look at a Muslim, it's like, okay, I know he doesn't know the scriptures, but if you knew the scriptures, you wouldn't be a Muslim anyway. So if you're in effeminate spirituality, your God will become semen retention in of itself. And then your goal is no longer to please God or to do what is right, but to get on a long streak of semen retention. This is idolatry. And then what do? Well, if I go vegan, I can go on longer streaks. That's God allowing you to be deceived, because you're not following him, but you're following something else. You're no different to the guys who started worshipping the staff with the serpents in the desert with Moses. The pagans. Okay, let me tell you this story. In the Bible, there's a story where they were in the desert and there were snakes, and they cursed God. Why all these snakes? So God sent down a staff, and whoever looked at the staff was healed. This is the staff with a coiled serpent, right? And then the pagans started worshipping the staff instead of the God who it came from. And again, this is why, look at today's society, the modern symbol of medicine is the paganism symbol, what the pagans used to worship, because they worship pagan gods. That's why they give you the medication, that's why they don't give you actual remedies, but they only care about themselves and their own monetary gain. So, that aside, when your God is not God, about semen retention, what you will think is, oh, I can go on a longer streak if I'm vegan. Yeah, you know why? Because you have less energy, because you're weaker. I know when you eat meat, you feel urges. Is that bad? Or is that a sign that you actually have energy? That there's actually some power within you that wants to be expressed? Because again, you can have a lot of energy, or you can have a little amount of energy. What is easier to go on a longer streak, if you have a little amount of energy or if you have a larger amount of energy? Which responsibility is harder to bear? The big responsibility or the small responsibility? Is it about how long you can bear a small responsibility, or how long can you bear a big responsibility? Right? That's why semen retention is not the goal. The goal is God. Semen retention is a tool. The staff with the serpents was a tool. Don't worship semen retention. Don't worship the staff. Worship God. And God says you're supposed to receive the animal in thanksgiving and enjoy its flesh and eat it. Be grateful for it. Treat the animal with respect and compassion. Because we can get into it, all the animal slaughtering, there's inhumane practices. Eat grass-fed beef who can walk around if you can. Do the best you can to make sure you don't support, because we're supposed to have compassion over the animals, but at the same time realize that we have dominion over them, and everything here has been created for us because we are God's children, and this is not ego, this is a genuine realization you can have, completely free of ego. Because again, it's always the fake compassion that wants to strip you of your powers in the name of empathy and morality. Realize this pattern. Again, overt sexual indulgence in the name of compassion, or taking drugs that will drain you, or becoming a vegan, it all strips you of your power, because they realize you are the representation of God. They don't have to attack the woman, they have to attack you. They'll use the woman to attack you, yes, by deceiving the woman first, such as the serpent did, with all the effeminate teachings, and the very original effeminate teachings, which is come to this planet, you will have knowledge of good and evil. I'm saying the truth, They are attacking you, the man. Because we're at a critical stage. Our society is falling apart. People are blind, people don't see it, but there's some of you that see it. You are called to become a masculine man, to represent God and to not be stripped of your powers and fall for these deceptions. And then at the end, speak out against 100 people or 1,000 people if you have to, and scream and proclaim the truth before they fucking chop your heads off for the sake of Christ, so that you can save 1 or 2 more souls. It sounds extreme, but these things will happen. And that's why you're watching it this far, because you're like, yes, I see it, I understand it. This type of spirituality is not the real spirituality. The real spirituality is following Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ will not let you be emasculated, overly compassionate and feminine in your spirit. He will build you up. I don't care if you didn't have a father role when you were younger. I didn't. But God can make you a godly man. Your Father in heaven can make you a real man. And he's the only one who's going to make you into a real man. If your Father on earth is not here to represent God to you, then turn to God himself. He will show you what you were made to be and that you carry a responsibility and power as a man. Do not let them emasculate you. Because this is what it comes down to. If you're a vegan, yeah, you will get on longer streaks and semen retention than if you weren't, but you just have less power. You're emotional, feminine. You're gonna have a feminine spirit because you won't be able to build the biological hormones you need. You were created to have, because you're not eating your natural diet. And then that's one thing. The other thing is just realize how it makes you feel, man. You don't feel good. The enemy is not the cholesterol or the fat, the animal fats. I mean, they are blatant liars. How often have you seen, oh, it has less fat, so you won't get fat? God, you're so retarded. It's not the fact that you eat animal fat which makes you fat. It's the fact that you eat more than you burn. You eat more calories than you burn. You see how they will blatantly lie to you, and they always do it. They are lying to you. Cholesterol is good for you. Protein is good for you. Eat animal products and cut out the carbohydrates and the sugars, man. Look what they did in the, I don't know, was it the 60s or the 50s when they came with all the Kellogg's packaging. Feed your child carbohydrates and a shit amount of sugar every single morning. Don't let them have intermittent fasting, and let them eat this. And who were the advertisements targeted at? There you go on YouTube and look at these old commercials. It's always targeted at the women who were staying at home, and the advertisements are telling the women, look how much easier it is if you just give your children Kellogg's while your man is at work. You will save time and effort, so you'll have more time to chill in the morning because you didn't have to prepare breakfast. Targeted at the woman, made to attack the man. Feminism, LGBTQ, I'm not gonna go down the route. But it's things like this. If you know Kellogg's, they're of the devil. Again, the hierarchies, it's of the devil. That's why he wants to break your intermittent fast and feed you sugars and carbs in the morning, because they give you cancer, they make the pharma money. Oh, Mike gets money. Yeah, this video will be, yeah. You'll see it if you're meant to. And they turn you gay. They give you cancer, they make you sick, they turn you gay and effeminate. Sugar makes you effeminate. Abstain from sugar. It's one of the worst things you can do as a man, to eat sugar and carbohydrates. Again, you have to, I guess, learn about these things, but carbohydrates are sugars. The rice you eat turns into glucose. There are no nutrients in your rice. It's empty. It's just sugar. That's why you have energy after 2 hours and then you crash. Again, introspect. Notice how you feel when you eat these foods. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. It's killing your masculinity. It's making you sick and effeminate, a slave to sugar and dopamine. That's the enemy, sugars and carbs. The sugary drinks we drink, all of this, the dessert. Abstain from that. Eating carnivore is not about eating meat. It's about not eating the processed garbage, not eating the garbage bread and rice and pasta. Who eats these things? Poor people who couldn't have animals, who had to grow stuff or whatever. This is not to shit on anybody who eats this or who has to eat this. Again, it's not about what you eat. But just know that all throughout human history, we knew the preferable food is meat. It just gives you more power and energy and nutrients that your body needs. Because you're supposed to sustain and take care of this physical temple that you're lending, and not let it degenerate because you're so spiritual and you're gonna ascend in the cave and you're no good to anybody. That's a deception, man. Anyway, I said a lot, but I started the video very neutral, and at the end my true views really came out. But I want to share my true views because everything else is just a deception. I'm deceiving myself. I'm doing what the effeminate does by not confronting you if you're in New Age spirituality, and risking offending you and then compromising my own truth. You see? That's the thing. I say what I think is true, even if it means offending you. Why? Because I love you. If I didn't love you, I would just make sure I wouldn't risk offending you. Okay? That's my take on veganism. Yeah. Didn't think the video would end that way, but I guess it does. Thank you for watching. Give me a like for the algorithm.